Chapter 27, Section 3 continued. Operation Overlord. This is going to be an attack planned by George C. Marshall. This is going to be the code name given to the plan for the Allied invasion of German-occupied France, which the actual invasion will be led by General Eisenhower. At the same time as Operation Overlord, you're going to have another operation being planned. Operation Fortitude. Operation Fortitude was a trick. It was a ploy, trying to make it look like the invasion, the attack would come at Calais. And the way they would accomplish this, partially by geography, it's the closest spot to Britain and France there, but partially, there was a whole fleet over near Kent, over in Britain. There was a whole fleet of fake tanks, unseaworthy ships, thousands of soldiers, other fake armaments. Also, if you remember correctly, before we would invade some place, we would bomb them for a while. Well, we were bombing the crap out of Calais. We were making it look like the attack would come at Calais, so Hitler would put his defenses there. June 6th, 1944 is D-Day. D-Day almost didn't happen because of a delay due to the weather. But once there was a break in the weather, Allied forces are going to land at Normandy, at 5 beaches of Normandy. You're going to have 5,000 ships carrying about 150,000 troops across the English Channel, led by General Omar Bradley. In behind the enemy lines. I forgot to put that slide in there, so you can see how many things were involved. But in behind the enemy lines, you can see there in the bottom right-hand corner, 23,400, or around 23,000 airborne troops were flown in. As our forces come ashore, they have to battle the waves, the German gunfire. Germany had fortified Normandy. There were bunkers, there were tank traps, there were mines. But Operation Fortitude did its job. When the German forces at Normandy asked for reinforcements, Hitler refused, convinced that the invasion was actually coming elsewhere, and this was the distraction. If you ever want to see good footage of what it was like, Hollywood footage, but still good footage, most realistic there is, of what it was like coming ashore at Normandy, watch the opening scenes to Saving Private Ryan. Veterans who were there at Normandy says that was as close as they've ever seen to an accurate representation of it. By early July, the Allied forces had moved 20 miles into France. And by then you had 1 million Allied troops in France. By August 25th, 1944, Paris has been liberated from Nazi control. And by early September, you have 2 million Allied troops in France. And they're pushing towards Germany. By the fall of 44, the German cause seemed pretty hopeless. Coming from the east, you had the Soviets Coming from the west, you had us and Britain. The Allies bombing Germany continually. Some of Germany's high officials even plotted to kill Hitler. This happened more than once, but they failed. The bottom left hand there is what's referred to as Valkyrie. There's a Tom Cruise movie by that name, Valkyrie, where he plays the German official trying to assassinate Hitler. Hitler refused to give up, though. And actually, in September 44, Hitler launches a V-2 rocket, starts launching V-2 rockets, these long-range rockets, hard to shoot down. By September of 44, though, the Allies had crossed into Germany. The Germans are going to launch a final assault. It actually catches us by surprise. And we're outnumbered 5-1, but Americans are stubborn. And we hold on during this attack. But we are going to be pushed back to the Ardennes forest near the Belgium-French border. And as the Germans push, a bulge forms in the Allies' line. This becomes known as the Battle of the Bulge. But the Allies refused to surrender. And the Germans had put everything they had into this last attack. And they're basically going to be stopped by running out of gas. A gas shortage. And they can't crush the resistance. And by January of 45, any gains that they had made here at the Battle of the Bulge are wiped out. Germany's days are numbered. The Allied leaders are going to get together in February of 45 in the Soviet Union in Yalta. Churchill, FDR, Stalin are going to get together to start making plans for post-war peace. The Allies are going to win, it's just a matter of when. At this conference, Stalin pledges that the Soviet Union will declare war on Japan 3 months after the German surrender. They all agree to divide and occupy Germany, and they outline a plan for a new international peace organization. A new one, because obviously the League of Nations was gone. It did not work. Back at home during the war in 44, we had an election. Roosevelt runs for a 4th term against Dewey. Roosevelt's VP at this time is going to be Harry S. Truman. Roosevelt runs for this unprecedented 4th term because he does not want to disrupt the war effort. Things were finally going in our favor. Roosevelt wins 432 to 99. By March of 45, the Allies were in the heart of Germany. And the Soviets had occupied much of Eastern Europe. And this actually concerns Churchill. Churchill's afraid that the Soviets, as they moved across Eastern Europe and supposedly liberated those countries, he's afraid they're going to occupy them. Stalin's not going to give them back. But Eisenhower didn't have time to hear this right now. His prime goal was defeating Germany and keeping his soldiers safe. As of this moment, Soviet Union was on our side. April 30th, 1945. With Soviet troops only a few miles away, scratch that, only a few blocks away, Hitler commits suicide in an underground bunker. Towards the left there in the middle, you can see a doorway. It leads into that little building and basically down a stairwell into the bunker. Today, that's a parking lot. But Hitler commits suicide. Him and his mistress or new wife take cyanide. Hitler also shoots himself. May 7th, 1945, Germany unconditionally surrenders. The next day is known as VE Day, Victory in Europe. It is the formal end to the war in Europe.